One of the big questions that businesses face is how to improve levels of good conduct. Whilst this issue is an important one across many industries, perhaps one of the most heavily affected is the banking industry, where heavy fines have, and still are, being levied by regulators across the globe. In response to significant increases in regulation, as well as demanding customer expectations, banks have put in place comprehensive risk and compliance frameworks consisting of policies and procedures, controls and training. Yet despite the considerable changes in the control framework of our global banks, there are still alarming levels of compliance violations and examples of poor conduct persisting across the industry. And we should be clear what we're talking about here when we mention poor conduct. Conduct risk is not just the result of a few bad apples that set out to game the system for their own purposes, although this does unfortunately sometimes happen. Moreover, conduct risk is often generated by well-meaning and conscientious individuals or teams who take action or fail to take actions, which then results in a detrimental client outcome or can even damage the integrity of the market as a whole. Sometimes we fail to see risks even if they're staring us directly in the face. And new conduct risks are constantly emerging. For instance, changes in the way banks regard transactional data generates new risks as that data starts to become as valuable to the industry as the financial transaction that created it in the first place. A traditional response would be to issue a new policy and increase the volume and complexity of mandatory online training. But this type of action is firmly rooted in the assumption that people will weigh up all of the information available and then consistently act in a rational way. Yet behavioural scientists and psychologists tell us that that's just not how we work. There's strong evidence that suggests people are not consistently rational and tend to make decisions automatically, unconsciously, guided by their biases. There's a notion that says human beings have bounded rationality. However, the same research tells us that whilst people do tend to act irrationally, they do it in predictable ways. And if we use that understanding and apply it to conduct and compliance, then we create new possibilities that help people make better decisions and lead to better customer outcomes. This is what behavioural scientists would call choice architecture. In effect, we can help people make the decisions they would have made if they had unlimited rationality, unlimited mental resources, and unlimited time and energy. Some of the most important questions we can ask are, what is the context in which people are making their decisions? Notice, I didn't say what do we think the context is, or even what do we expect the context to be given all of the investment that's been put into training and policies. We need to first understand what is if we ever hope to move to what needs to be. And where and when decisions are being made, how long do people have to make them? These are really important questions. Who are the role models that others look to as a guide? And what are the possible conflicts and outcomes that might arise as a result of a decision? Ultimately, it's very hard to change the way people think, but it is possible to change the context in which people make decisions. For instance, one key principle would be, if you want people to make better decisions, then make the decision simple. Take a look at our next video where we go through an example of choice architecture in practice. If you'd like to know more or would like some help with where to start, our experts would be very happy to have a conversation with you.